Welcome, everybody, to my video series, Open Doors with Lori, Tips for Buyers and Sellers. And today we are going to speak with Sharon Moser. She's a loan officer with Novus Home Mortgage. And the lender is one of the most important parts of this process. So welcome, Sharon. Thank you for doing this and for speaking
Absolutely,
with
Lori.
me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I always tell my buyers, if they call me and say, I'm thinking about buying a house and what's the first step? I always say, get with the lender and get pre-approved. So can you just explain the pre-approval process? Because when I say that, sometimes people get anxious or I don't know, just kind of not wanting to go through that process, but it really is the first step.
Absolutely. So it is the first and most important step. That way you as a realtor can know the price range that the buyer is approved for, right? We don't want to be showing houses that are way over budget or maybe even under budget where they could qualify for more.
Right.
So when I talk to your buyer, I gather their information. We could do it over the phone or we have an online application that they can complete. And during that process, I'm getting their personal information, work history, asset information. And then after we hang up, that's when I will enter everything into our system, pull credit. And I know a lot of people kind of hesitate when it comes to having their credit pulled. But I can't really give a pre-approval without pulling credit, right? Like we have to see what their score is, credit history, what kind of debts they have, because part of the approval process is knowing what their debt to income ratio is, because that will determine how much they are approved for.
Okay, very good. Now, when you
Yeah.
pull their credit, this is another thing everybody asks me. If you pull their credit, is that a hard hit and does that lower their credit score?
So it is a hard inquiry in order for us to give an accurate pre-approval, okay? The pre-approval is good for 4 months, so I won't have to pull their credit again if they find and close within 4 months.
Okay.
Um, Now, getting a mortgage inquiry is not going to negatively impact their credit score. They may see movement on their end if they're ones who monitor their credit score, but it's not actually going to negatively impact their true mortgage score.
Okay. And that I do tell that to buyers too, because I said the credit industry understands when they see that inquiry, it's not like, a store credit card or something like that that's going to, affect negatively. They assume you are shopping for a mortgage. So even though it is a
Correct.
hard hit, it's not going to be a negative impact. So I want
Yeah.
everybody to hear that because some people won't get pre-approved. They want to write an offer and have the offer accepted and then go for their pre-approval. And that really is just not the way the system works. So thanks for explaining
Right.
that.
Absolutely.
What are some of your popular mortgage products that you offer for buyers?
Sure. So at Novus, we offer all of the programs you can think of. So we have the government programs such as FHA, USDA, and VA loans. And then we also have conventional loans. And then we also have like outside of the box programs, which is for buyers who may not qualify for your regular mortgage. So if you have self-employed buyers, if you have investors, to where maybe their tax returns don't show a lot of income, but there's other ways that we can get them qualified, such as a bank statement loan, a P&L statement loan. So we carry a wide range of products and programs for the buyers.
That's good to know because I do have quite a bit, and there are a lot of self employed people out there who think that they can't qualify unless they get a full time job. But I
Yeah.
always encourage them to see what they qualify for because I know you do have that. There's other ways to get pre approved if you're self employed.
Absolutely.
One of the other things that a lot of buyers ask me is what are closing costs? And that seems to vary from lender to lender. So what are your closing costs?
So our origination fee is about $1,700, which is pretty comparable to your other lenders. On top of our fees, you also have title company fees, your taxes, insurance, appraisal fee. So when I'm discussing cash to close with a buyer, because we want to make sure they know everything up front. I don't like buyers or realtors to be surprised during the process, right? So when I'm discussing their cash to close with the buyer, I make sure I'm giving them their total cash to close. So that includes their down payment, that includes our fees, the title company fees, again, like everything that they're going to have to come to the closing table on closing day.
That is very good because sometimes that has happened where, I don't know where the disconnect is, but I'm constantly telling my buyers, talk to your lender. Like they'll call me and say, what am I supposed to bring? But a lot of people think that we're involved in the financial part of the transaction, and we really are not. That is between the lender and the buyers. So yeah, I'm always like, ask them these questions, and sometimes I will reach out to the lender directly and say, my buyer has
Mhm.
this question. So when they call you, that please explain that to them. So that's good to
Yeah.
know. And in this economy and the interest rates kind of high, I still do have quite a bit of buyers out there right now, which is good. And one of the ways that I know it's a program that you all have that has been very instrumental in some of my buyers that qualify is the OFA loan or the OFA program.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is?
Absolutely. We do offer the OFA program. So OFA is a grant program offered through the state of Ohio, and you have to qualify for the grant. So there's credit score requirements, debt to income ratio requirements, as well as income. And when I say income, they have a cap for the income. So you can't make over a certain amount to qualify.
Right, right.
But the good thing about that piece of it for the income is it's not based off of household income, it's just based off the buyer. So let's say you have a married couple, but only one of the one spouse is going on the loan, it's just based off of that one buyer's income.
Okay.
Um, so the OFA program offers up to 5% of the sales price for down payment and closing costs. So let's say, for example, if you're doing an FHA loan, which is a government loan, and you have a 3.5% down payment, OFA can give the buyer 5% of the sales price. So it would cover all of your down payment, and then the remaining go towards, a little bit of your closing costs.
That is very
Um,
good. Yeah, that's good.
it's a
Do you,
great program.
yeah,
Go ahead.
it is. Do you happen to know, or does it vary? I guess it varies what the income cap is, or it depends on the price of the
So
house.
it's not based off the price of the house. It's based off the county that you're living in, that the home is in. So for instance, here in Mahoning County, I think the max income is right around 105,000. Don't quote me on that. It's on their website, but it's somewhere right around there.
Okay. That is an excellent program. There were, and do you have to be a first time home buyer to take advantage of that?
So you don't have to. And let me shed some light on that piece of it, Lori, as far as being a first-time home buyer. So you are considered a first-time home buyer if you haven't owned a home within the last 3 years. So let's say you owned a home 7 years ago and you sold it and you've been renting or living with family since,
Mm-hmm.
you would be considered a first-time home buyer. So
Nice.
OFA will give you up to 5% as a first-time home buyer. And if you're not, let's say you sold your home a year ago, but you're in a situation where you need grant assistance, that program will give them up to 2.5% of the purchase price if you're not a true first-time home buyer.
Okay. Very good. That those programs right now, a lot of people are trying to get information about just because of the interest rates, and people are just needing that extra
Mm-hmm.
assistance. So that's good to
Mm-hmm.
know. And then uh, sometimes, you know, in the middle of a transaction, or maybe right before you're going to get pre-approved, sometimes you get a job opportunity where you're actually changing jobs, and it's actually a promotion. And I've had somebody tell me, I just took on a new job, and it is making more money, but don't I have to be at this job for like 6 months or a year before I could try to get pre-approved? Is that true, or does it depend?
Sure. So it's always a good idea for me to have a conversation with a buyer if they're in that boat. But typically, I would never want to prevent somebody from improving their life, right, by getting a job that's paying more. So absolutely, I would encourage you to take that new job, but there's a few questions I would have. Um, if you are guaranteed a minimum number of hours, or if your salary, that pretty much seals the deal, and we can use that new job even if you just started a week ago. Um, but it really comes down to, each individual is kind of a different scenario. So we definitely need to have a conversation and make sure we go over all of those details.
Sure. Okay. And then a couple of things I want to say about you personally, that I like working with you because you work the same hours that I work. It is very important to have access to your lender on Saturday afternoons or Sundays. Not that, we're going to be bothering you, blowing up your phone on the weekend, but sometimes it's like, we're writing an offer and the buyer has a question. So that has been very
Yes.
delightful to have. We're sitting at the table writing the offer, and they're able to reach out to you and get their questions answered so that we can give the appropriate offer. And the other thing is, I know I've seen this before. I don't know if you're still doing this, but every Wednesday you would have the Wednesday mortgage word. And I think that
Yes.
is a very important. It's really great because I know most of the buyers that I work with, I'm explaining the process to them, but it's overwhelming because I'm saying all these words, and it's really overwhelming because I'm trying to kind of train them or give them information while we're in the middle of the transaction. So I like how you take that upon yourself on Wednesday to just give out some information so that the potential buyers out there can learn something about the process before they get in the process.
Well, thank you, Lori. I appreciate that. And yes, I'm still doing those Wednesday videos. I really enjoy educating people about the mortgage process because for most people, it's a big, scary thing. And so I want to try to ease everybody and make it the least amount of stress for them as possible.
Yes. And that's I think we're on the same page with that because I do enjoy educating, and I really like I want people to understand what they're doing before they do it. And I always say, if you don't understand, keep asking, and so that I can explain it to you so that you understand, because it is very scary, but I think it's less scary when you know what it is, you know what to expect.
Yes, absolutely.
I think I asked all the questions. Do you have any questions or anything else that you want to cover that I may have missed?
Um, yeah, I think what we covered here is great. Again, it's all about communication, like you mentioned. Me as a lender has to be available just like you as the realtor is, and I want to take the the mortgage, the financial aspect of it off of your plate. So I'm always available for conversation, with the buyers calling me, even if they're not under contract and they're just looking at homes and, you have a question. I do not mind folks reaching out. Communication is just a huge piece of our job. And I am here to help and answer questions and guide people along the way.
That is excellent. That's why I like working with you, Sharon. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being a part of my video series. And so you're going to be hearing more information about lenders, and hopefully, we'll get your information out there, on this series. And so if anybody's out there and you're thinking about purchasing a home, the first step is getting with a lender. And so contact Sharon Moser and she will get you started.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lori. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Sharon. Have a good day.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode in my video series, Open Doors with Lori, Tips for Buyers and Sellers. If you have questions about anything that we discussed today, feel free to reach out to me, 330-559-4773. Thank you.